the Awaken Your Ego podcast with Joanne and Ariana. We are a health podcast that explores topics to do with biohacking and self-discovery.
We are also on the self-discovery journey, and we want to attract listeners that are doing the same in order to help them realize they're not alone.
Ego differs from conventional medical spas and wellness centers. We believe that the secret to maximizing one's sense of self is in addressing the entire person, inside and out. We provide state-of-the-art aesthetic treatments as well as lifestyle management and holistic health solutions. We aim to please with our efficient and friendly customer service and guarantee with our scientifically proven alternative therapies and lifestyle optimizations that every patient will leave our care with a boosted ego. Our goal is to help our patients realize the necessity of self-care and to encourage them to prioritize their health and wellness goals. When we make self-care and confidence a priority, then we're able to bring to light our potential for happiness and growth. This podcast is a way to expand our reach so that we are able to spread the word on the importance of self, the whole self, inside and out.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. Please reach out to your medical provider if you have questions about any of the treatments we discuss to see if it's a right fit for you. Now on to our show. And welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Ego. Today we have Erick Winchester with us. He's going to be one of our speakers for our upcoming event. Erick is regarded as one of the best lending professionals in Northern America. With more than 26 years of experience in financing, he has successfully assisted dozens of clients opening doors to their first homes. Erick is not only regarded as a top expert on residential loans, he's also known for his incredible ability to satisfy clients' needs throughout the entire loan process. As a leading mortgage banker at CrossCountry Mortgage, he has proved himself not only by assisting clients reach their financial goals, but also in the overwhelmingly positive feedback and referrals he receives from clients every day. Client satisfaction is a cornerstone of Erick's work and success, and the hallmark of success at CrossCountry Mortgage. So thank you, Erick, for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
Welcome. And I personally have been a client of Erick's, and I love how he does business and really does hold your hand every step of the way. Like, fantastic.
Thank you.
So Erick, before we get into our questions, we want to do a rapid fire session.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that. All right. The goal is to answer as quickly as possible, whatever comes to mind.
All right.
All right. Ready, go.
Television series or movie?
Series.
Delivery or sit-down restaurant?
Sit down.
Board games or card games?
Card games.
Video games or books?
Books.
Car or truck?
Truck.
Paperback book or ebook?
Ebook.
Country or city?
Country.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Broccoli. This is stupid. Okay, beach or mountains?
Beach.
Soda or juice?
Juice.
You're so fast. Pepperoni pizza or cheese pizza?
Pepperoni.
What's your favorite drink?
Sweet tea.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
What's your favorite time of day and why?
Early in the morning, before the kids get up.
Just peaceful. What's your favorite?
With my coffee.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
Baseball.
What's your favorite sport to play?
Baseball.
Exercise or hanging out?
Exercise.
And time.
Oh, good. See, I had to make a few up. You didn't even have enough on this list. No, that was perfect.
That was a Google.
So that's a timed.
Yeah, it was a minute. Mm-hmm. Just like you did pretty good. Like you went through them. That was like really good. Fast thinker. All right, Erick. What would you say is the most fulfilling part about what you do?
It's hard not to put yourself in the situation because I've been a buyer, I've been a seller, and I've also been an individual that, as a child, lost a home, with my parents. So fulfillment with the clients. Yes, is there monetary benefit? Yeah, of course there is. But seeing people buy homes and get the great gratification out of it is pretty cool.
No, that's awesome.
It's really cool.
Really rewarding.
Yeah, very
and why don't you tell us a little bit about your family? We didn't really dive into that at all.
Sure. I am a father of two sons, Erick and Aiden. One is 15 and the other is 9. And then I've been with Kathy, my wife, for the last 27 years, I guess you could say. Been married for 17. And we're very, very much involved with our children and, of course, our church here in our community. I was born and raised here. And so very much have ties to our community and continue to raise our family here.
Oh, that's awesome.
How did you decide to get into the business that you're in?
Well, ultimately it was a fluke thing, to be honest with you. I was a 18-year-old right out of high school, young man looking for opportunity, and was approached by a gentleman that I have a high deal of respect and regard for, still to this day. And he was he took the chance on me when I was 18 and showed me the ropes. And in the mid 90s at that point, the market and the business was completely different than what it is today. And so I've been able to see the market as well as the business evolve over a period of time. And so to go back to the question, it was really a fluke thing. And once I got into it, I really realized that it was for me. And I put my own personal situations when I was a kid into what I do and why I do what I'm doing, why I do what I do, and why I'm very transparent with my clients. Because I don't want any kind of information given to be a downfall for anybody making a financial decision for today and tomorrow for them.
So you truly hold everyone's best interest.
Oh my God, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. And what gave you the courage to kind of go out on your own? Because you have your own company.
Right, yeah. Ultimately, I have a great staff that I get to work with on the daily. And we have been together, my operations manager and I have been together for probably 10 plus years. My assistant's been with me for the last 8 years. My processor's been with me for 10 years. And then we have other loan officers in my office that I have a great deal of love and respect for. And I say all that because I was with a company that was acquired by a very large bank. Mm-hmm. And it was a concern of mine for myself and my staff at that time. And it progressively got worse and worse and worse. And I just said, hey, enough is enough. We've got to find a home that will put our clients' best interest at heart and allow us to have the flexibility that we need to be able to make the right decision. Mm-hmm. The right decision does not always equate to a monetary means. And that's just a part of doing business. You have to do what is right at all times. And banking institution does not give you that flexibility you need to always do what is right.
Well, and like you said, they don't give you that individual look. It's like, no, if you don't fit on paper, you're out.
You're a number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the reality. And it does not fit with me, nor does it fit with our community. Our community is very much, everybody knows everybody. Mm-hmm. And your reputation is vital. And I'm just not a number. Mm-hmm. And nor are my clients.
Yeah. No, that's really cool that you even had that foresight to see, hey, this doesn't fit my culture. This isn't how I want to run business. Right. I'm doing my own thing. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Fortunately enough, CrossCountry Mortgage, the president and CEO of the actual company is very, very much people-minded. It is privately held. It's not a shareholder-owned company. So he can always do what is right, and he always has. And so we're very fortunate to be under his umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So to kind of take things to the basics, where would you suggest that someone starts in trying to qualify for a home?
Well, the first and foremost thing that we see over the years is credit's always an issue, right? People are people. People are going to make mistakes. There's no such thing as perfect. And so the very first thing that you want to look for from a personal standpoint is, hey, you know what? Where's my credit? No matter what you think, pull your credit, look at it. Now, I'm not saying pulled over and over and over, right? You want to have somebody that's pulling what we call a tri-merge or a three bureau, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion credit report that actually has all the real data. At that point, we can examine it, look at it, and see, hey, are you ready from a credit standpoint, or do we need to work on it? And what I mean by we, it means me and the client. It's a joint venture. So there are a lot of individuals, even in my business, that don't understand credit or how credit works. And have you been through real life situations, right? A lot of things that we see, and we see it very often, is that the student loan debt that we see. Student loan companies will say that, hey, you know what, we've sent letters to you, and that's why you have a ding on your credit. I can't tell you how many times. There's probably, out of 100, there's probably 70% of the people will say, well, I didn't even know I had that on my credit. The student loan company said they sent me a letter. They all say that.
Yeah.
So do they really send it? Because it's a reoccurring thing that happens. So back to the question is, what would I do first? I would say, let's look at your credit first. If your credit's great, then we can take the next step and see where your income is, and then kind of go from there. But the worst thing that anybody can do from a financial standpoint, especially when making a big purchase like this, is be in a hurry. Right. It's okay to make methodical, educated decisions when doing something like this. Don't be in a hurry.
I like that. And you should, right? You should give yourself some time.
You should, yeah.
Don't wait till you're desperate and then,
right.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and just, I'll add in. But I love that you talk about debt, because when I wanted to buy a home, we had actually a lot of medical debt. My husband had a big, he lost function of his kidneys, had to have a kidney transplant.
Right.
And so we had a lot of medical debt, and I think we were so scared, we're never going to be able to buy a house until we figure out this medical debt. And then once we realized, no, you can write a letter explaining that, and then it's we were able to get a loan, but it was that would have been something that would have held us back had someone not told us that was okay.
You know what it is? It's the fear of the unknown.
Exactly.
That's what it boils down to. So many people are well, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and think that it's going to go away. Well, I can't tell you how many times I've seen it where a person has an idea, thought in their head, I guess you could say, and it's not even there. They have good credit, right? Or vice versa. I got great credit.
It's an irrational fear.
Right. And then I'm going to go even further and say, if you're married, make sure your spouse has good credit.
Yeah.
Because there have been many a times where I've seen a husband and wife where they have two separate checking accounts, two separate financials, and the husband or the wife has perfect credit, and then the other, and it just eliminates the opportunity to buy at that moment. So be transparent with each other, I guess you could say.
Well, and I love that you said about even just paying attention to where you're at credit wise, because that's something you can get under wraps. You can,
very much so.
Yeah, that's something that anyone can start working on.
It's better to be on top of it than just bury your head in the sand. Yeah.
Well, let's say someone is in a not so perfect situation.
Right.
Do you have any advice for them, or any hope that you could give for them to get themselves out of that?
Ultimately, get with a professional that, like myself, that I know what we need to do, how to get there, how to omit certain things that we need to omit. And if it takes a little bit of money and time to do so, it's okay. It's a very, very easy process. But like I said, it's the fear of the unknown. If you are going to, let's just say New York, and you don't have a roadmap or a navigational on your car, how are you going to get there?
I won't.
You won't, right? So ultimately,
Mexico.
you need to have a roadmap to be able to accomplish where you're going. And so coming to a professional like myself or any one of my loan officers at CrossCountry Mortgage would be able to advise you and actually say, hey, you know what? This is where I think you need to be. And this is what, let's do XYZ first. And if it's a tier step that we have to do, it's okay. As long as you get to where you're wanting to go, right? If it takes a year, I had one client, it took 3 years, and their credit was beyond shot. But after 3 years, they got their first home. what a gratifying for me too, but really gratifying for them to be able to they have their first child in that house, and it's just, it's on and on and on. And so the benefits of cleaning up the mess today for tomorrow it's endless.
Well, and then you're operating from a place of intention and not, like you said, fear. It's like, I don't want to make my decisions from a place of fear or anxiety. It's like, I want to be very methodical and intentional about like the choices I'm making that are going to serve me for years to come.
Really? Yeah, very much so.
So what are some resources, or if there are any resources, that you have your clients utilize for education or implementation of your financial suggestions?
Well, ultimately, I tell everybody, look, there's so much data online, right? Because there is. I mean, it's on our phones, on our tablets, on our computers. TikTok. I mean, tons, right? And you, like what we were talking about before, you have the truth, then the middle, and then you have, just the falsehoods that are out there. Ultimately, the truth is always in the middle. And so what I would say is the institutions like media, CNBC, Fox Business, these entities that are Bloomberg TV that you can watch, you don't have to be like up to date on everything that's going on. But if you have that data, podcasts that are financials, it's the more the merrier. But I would also say, come back to a person like myself and let's see what is reality. Because you could be out there searching for something and get this notion in your head that, XYZ is possible, when the reality it very well may not be, or vice versa. Right.
Well, I like how you said before we kind of started the podcast about, it's about the quality of the resource. It's like knowing that it's a good source, not just someone that wants to, have their own podcast and is feeding false info. So I like that your office is offering those kind of options. Like, let's make a map for you.
Very much so. Yeah.
Do you have any resources that you personally use on a regular basis?
Actually, I am very much a reader. So data is key. And I had a while back had spoke to an IT individual, and I said, hey, what is the best source of information, real information? And this is before, it's about 8 years ago. And this person said Twitter. I go, Twitter? What do you mean? I'm thinking it's some social media thing. But actual data that comes through is the fastest on Twitter than it is even the news source. So the news source will put it on Twitter before they actually upload it into their source. So I say that CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg, there are some other entities I read on a consistent basis. Get your hands on everything that you can and read.
Do you like to follow like a hashtag, or do you follow like certain people?
I follow certain people.
Okay.
Certain sources that have been very consistent with the truth, because we all know that social media and the news outlets have their own narrative. And so the truth is really important to me. And so I do follow certain people.
I like that. I know we mentioned credit a little bit, but what are some other things that people should keep in mind when they're trying to qualify for a home?
Don't pull your credit a lot, A. Don't add to your liability or your debt load. Don't go out and buy cars. Just because you have good credit doesn't necessarily mean you need to use it. I'll go back and tell you a story. So I was with my grandfather, and my brother and I were in the truck. And my grandfather, we were just little boys. My grandfather pulls out his wallet and his billfold, and we saw all these credit cards. And so we're like, wow, Grandpa, you're rich. Just our mindset as a child. And he told us then, we were probably 9 and 11. And he goes, just because I have credit doesn't mean I use it. He goes, and at that point, he goes, if I use a credit card, he goes, I pay it off at the end of the month, every month. I'm like, oh, so that's like, you have to pay it back? And so he's like, yes, of course. And so the credit, I go back to the credit. If you don't have to use your credit cards on a consistent basis, don't do it. When you're buying a home, be very, very cautious when adding to your debt load. That's going to be the biggest key. And don't change jobs if you don't have to.
Is that like a marker that will disqualify you? Or?
Those two things, it's what we call a debt to income ratio. Certain guidelines, if it's a conventional loan, we can be under the 50% debt to income ratio. If it's an FHA loan, we could be up to 55%. If you're using a down payment assistance, like the city of Riverbank has a great down payment assistance program, the criteria is quite a bit more stringent and it's stricter. And the reason they do that is for sole purpose of making sure that you are making a financially wise decision for you and your family. Because you don't want to get in a home today and then lose it tomorrow. Yeah. That's the worst thing. And I personally know that when I'm looking at things, that I want to make sure that the people that we're doing loans for, they have families, they have children, right? Those children do not deserve to have a home ripped out from underneath them. And so the decisions that we make as lenders, as parents, as guardians, we have to make sure that they're protected as well. And that comes with the financial aspect.
Yeah, no, definitely. How, and I'm going to switch it a little bit, but you sound like a very busy person. You're very smart in what you do. I can just tell. And I know from firsthand, but like, how do you manage like owning a business, working, learning, and like your home life balance? Like, how do you manage kind of both of those things?
Well, first and foremost, my family comes first, above and beyond anything in this world. And fortunately enough, my wife and I have been together for so long. She was with me when I got in the business. So she understands the nuances of the phone nonstop being with me, the emails, the answering of text messages, those kinds of things. So from that standpoint, I have a very understanding spouse, right? So I think that in itself has helped, my marriage, right? Where you have a spouse that really understands that, hey, you know what, money just doesn't grow on trees, right? Clients need help. They need to have answers, because there's going to be times at night you're laying in bed with your spouse and you're sitting there talking, or you're at the kitchen table talking about the upcoming purchase, and you're stressed out of your mind. Can we do this? Can we not do this? This is something new, right? And knowing that the answer is just a phone call away is super important. I've been there myself. I was doing my own loan. I was 20. I bought my second home. I was 22 years old, stressed out of my mind, right? I mean, literally sweating. I was stressed. And I knew exactly what I was doing. And so I look at it from the standpoint of people need to have their questions answered, and it doesn't matter what time or day or night it is, because that is reality. Not everybody works on the 8 to 5. Yeah. Right. So, back to the work-life balance. So my family does come first, and then my business. And so we have done a good job of just making sure that if I know my family comes first, I think everything else will align itself. And I think people do really respect that if you're a family-first individual. I think they really do respect that.
What are some of the things that you like to do in your free time?
Well, I love to fish. I love to play golf. I get to do very little because my boys are in baseball, and that is very much...
It's like a part-time job.
It's a part-time job, really. You have two sons that both play travel ball, and then, you have one in high school starting to play baseball there. Making sure there are practices, making sure they're at games, during the week, and then trying to make time for your spouse to have date nights and those kinds of things is it's a full-time job in itself. So, but the one thing that is consistent is that the family does come first. So,
well, what are some things that, and again, I don't mean to pry, but like, what are some things that you like to do just for you? Doesn't have to be anything big or small, but I mean...
I really do enjoy fishing because it allows me to be able to get away and shut the brain down when I need it.
No, that's awesome.
It's early in the morning, and those kinds of things. But I do also enjoy watching my boys play ball. Just the camaraderie and see them growing is pretty cool as a parent.
That's awesome.
And I thoroughly enjoy that. So a lot of people are like, oh, I got to do this. I got to get away. I really enjoy being with my family.
Yeah.
We're very much all alike. We have the same, we're very much goal-oriented individuals as a family. We do expect, excellence out of each other. And it's just something that we've all done. And my boys, I'm very, very proud of them. And so I enjoy being with them. And I get a great deal of gratification out of that. So I do like fishing and I do like golf. And we do a lot of events for the church, etc., which is wonderful. But it's either I'm doing that or I'm doing my work life.
Yeah. Well, and it's really cool that you and Kathy have created that family culture, because I feel like that takes a lot of work and time and effort consistently, right? To have kids that like you and that actually want to hang out with you,
right?
Yeah, and it's because you've showed them love and respect in the past, and that's a really big feat, and that's really cool that you've made that a priority, because that can get lost in the mix sometimes for people.
We're very fortunate to have good kids. Yeah.
Yeah. No, awesome.
What are some of the things that you are currently doing right now to enhance your wellness or your health?
Well, girl, I'm trying to lose weight. Ultimately, I'm with COVID and opening the 2 offices that we have here in Modesto and Turlock, and then we just opened an additional office here in Modesto. I would say that during the COVID time, and I was not focusing on myself. And with the help of Dr. Rhodes and Ego Wellness, I intend to continue to lose weight and just be healthier and take time out for myself, whether it be, going to the gym or working out at home on the Peloton, whatever the case might be. Those are my goals, really. I don't have too many other goals when it comes down to self, but just being healthier and being more active and making sure I put myself first.
Well, and I feel like as we all get older, we realize like, oh my gosh, I need the longevity factor here.
Truly.
My kids are also getting older. I'm getting older. It's like, I want to be around to play, to go fishing, hiking, whatever. And I feel like sometimes we get so hyper-focused on our career. I'm like, that's important too. Like, how am I going to keep up this career if I'm not taking care of myself? And I feel like for me, a few years ago, I was like, dude, I'm depleted. I'm burnt out. Yeah. And it's because I wasn't doing anything for me. So I'm glad you already see that. Yeah. Like, that's important.
It's pretty interesting because you when you travel, you'll see a vast difference between those elder individuals that have taken care of themselves, that are active, and those that haven't. And we were actually, this past summer, we went and hiked Diamond Head. And we were hiking, my wife and I and the boys were hiking with this couple that had, I think this was their 28th trip to Diamond Head, and they do it every year, and they've done it since they were young.
That's cool.
And as a couple, and they said, well, you know what, we've slowed down a little bit, we're still doing it. And the key is that they've stayed healthy, they've stayed active to be able to do those things. And it's a common occurrence that Kathy and I talk about, like, hey, you know what, I don't want to be one of those frumpy, where it takes, a wheelchair or a walker to be able to get around. Not that it's a bad thing, but there are, I think, lifestyle changes that you can do that would omit, having to deal with some of those issues.
Oh, definitely. We were just at a conference this weekend. It was like a biohacking conference, and they were talking a lot about mindset. I think a lot of us even forget, like, we get stuck in these negative mindsets, and that directly has an effect on your health.
Right.
So it's like keeping in mind not only the exercise piece, the physicality, which we all associate with health, but they were talking about a lot of supplements like methylene blue, NAD, and it enhances like your mitochondrial health, like on the cellular level. And those cells are what are keeping us alive. They're keeping us strong and healthy. So it's just interesting how like science is kind of catching up to what a lot of people have already seen, but that full person, it's important to pay attention.
Yeah, whatever goes in, it's going to come out, whether it be good or whether it be negative.
Yeah.
It's true. I've seen it. I take, for example, my own personal parents. I have a father that he had just recently passed away. He was not the most positive person in this world. And then I take my mother, on the other hand, and my God, it is rainbows and Skittles and butterflies every turn around. And she lives a very robust, life. And that is a very, very different contrast from a very negative person that would, maybe possibly just sit at home and be negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
One of the things that I was very inspired by, it talked about neuroplasticity and how like our minds, they're wired and programmed from the time we're born up until, forever.
Right.
But it's like, there is a sense of neuroplasticity where we can change that. We can change those negative, you mentioned fear, and it's like we can change that fearful cycle that we have in our head of like, no, I can't do that. That's not for me.
It's a choice.
Oh, I'm not good enough for a house. Yeah, it's a response to like how we're programmed, but now we're realizing we have the power to change that programming.
Right.
But the only way to do that is to look back and see where it started.
Right.
And then we can proceed forward in a whole new light. And I love that. I'm a controlling person in some aspects, but I love that like sense of control. Like, no, I have the power to live the life I want.
Right.
I'm not a victim. Right.
It's like a self-therapy. It really was what it boils down to. It's evaluating self. I think the healthiest person in this world can evaluate themselves and say, you know what, I'm not where I need to be. Right. And being able to evaluate yourself, say, okay, I got shortcomings, and fix them. That's pretty significant, but not everybody can do that, which is
well, not everyone could do that without intervention, right?
Truly,
it's like in order to realize your own power, sometimes it takes a professional to be like, hey, let's try this, let's do that. Totally. What you're doing is fantastic, and you're taking people that possibly have no hope, and you're like, no, we're going to figure this out. And that's I feel like in life we have to do that with ourselves in all aspects. So I think it's really fantastic the way you treat your clients.
An old man had told me one time, he goes, listen, there's always hope if you're above 6 feet underground.
Oh, dang. It's real.
It's true.
It's so real.
Yeah, it is very true.
And
this aspect of life, what you're talking about, being positive.
And there was a quote this weekend. This guy, he's like, the minute you become an expert, it's when you start dying. It's like, if you're not trying to evolve and make changes, whether it's in your business or life, he's like, then you're starting to decline. He's like, we're supposed to have a curious mind.
Right.
This guy was, I can't even remember his name. I'll find it and we'll talk about it on the next podcast. But what he was talking about is he's started like 6 different businesses, but they're all radically different fields because he's so curious. He's like, I don't want to ever feel like I'm done. He's like, I can learn, I can develop. And it was just really an inspiring concept, but it's really true. When we rest on our laurels and think, oh, I made it, this is my formula. It's like we start declining in other ways. That's the truth. And I think that's in everything. If you're not learning, you're probably dying at that moment. If you've thought you've made it, or even relationships. Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. You can take it on any aspect of life. Very much definitely. Do you have any current projects that you're kind of working towards, like with work, or that you'd want to share?
Not currently right now. Basically just making sure that the clients' needs have all been met. The loan officers, their needs have been met. We have some phenomenal team members that I've been fortunate to be able to work with on the daily, and just making sure that they grow their business. It's pretty vital to me, and just making sure that we have happy people. That's a priority for me from a business standpoint. So, well, I'm sure that you have to like optimize every time you like open a new business or open a new, branch or have new employees. There is that optimization process of like making sure they're in line with like where you're headed. So I'm sure that's a big undertaking in and of itself. It is, but fortunately we have like-minded loan officers that have, being selective with who you hire is very, very, very key. And we have very much like-minded loan officers that really their priority is a client, and the culture of the office is very much that. I'm blessed to be able to have Sonny and Win in my Turlock office, and that guy is just outstanding. He and Kenny Anderson and the staff there. And then Sandra Yates just opened her new office on Coffee Road here in Modesto, and another outstanding loan officer. And then you have Christina Cornejo and George Herbley, and there's a significant amount of loan officers in my Modesto office as well that are just like-minded. And I guess, dealing with, in my industry, you have a lot of individuals that have not necessarily the same mindset. It's all about them, and they forget the reason as to what is their why, right? You have family and your clients. That's your why, making sure that both are happy. Instead of, is it just a money grab? Yeah. It's not a money grab. because money grabs are here today, gone tomorrow.
True.
And so fortunately, we're blessed to be able to have some amazing people that we get to work with on the daily.
That's awesome. So we do have a financial wellness seminar coming up, and we're grateful that you're going to be a speaker. What are some things that clients can expect to kind of learn?
Well, ultimately, I'm sure there's going to be a significant amount of question and answer session. And I'm going to bring just to the transparency at that point. Because right now we're in a marketplace that is continually shifting, and there's been a lot of questions as to what do I expect, what's tomorrow going to hold, etc. And so some of those questions will be answered at that point.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come meet with us and be on our podcast. And I really look forward to the financial wellness seminar coming up.
How can our clients contact you or reach you? Do you have any social media pages?
Yeah. So
websites?
you can reach us at, I can give you the phone number to the office. It's 209-502-3131. They can reach us at ericwinchester.com. CrossCountry Mortgage Modesto, CrossCountry Mortgage Turlock. You can actually find us through that as well. We have the social media, which is Erick Winchester. If you just Google that.
Do you have a TikTok?
No.
Not yet?
No. You can just, Google and it'll pop up, and it's all over the place there.
So. Awesome.
Perfect.
So, okay. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, thanks for joining us. We're excited for this Saturday.
So am I.
Thank you for listening to Awaken Your Ego, a podcast that explores biohacking and self-discovery. We hope you follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date on what we're working on in your area.